Watching the PM edition of Newsfeed. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Hugo Ribatika. Well, let's go back to our top story now. The ANC in the Free State has voted in top office bearers for the province. Mxolisi Dukwana is now provincial chairperson. Let's speak to political analyst Professor Duvenhage around this. Professor, always great to speak to you. This announcement that's just been made coming out of the Free State, what are your immediate thoughts?
Good afternoon, Hugo and listeners. Yes, a number of general impressions. The first one, this is bringing us to the end of the Mxolisi era of influence. I believe what we are seeing here is what we can call a regime change within the context of the ANC. Secondly, the Mxolisi Dukwana group is relatively close to the Cyril Ramaphosa group. So I'm reading this as a win for Cyril Ramaphosa, and we have seen the slate. It seems as if the majority of the slate is loyal towards Mxolisi Dukwana. Thirdly, it is my impression that the ANC in the Free State as an organization needs a lot of renewal. The organization need to do their planning. They are entering a very, very difficult election. At the moment, Mangaung is one of the few municipalities that are and metros that are still under control of the ANC. Lastly, I think that the change that is happening can be positive for a province that is facing major challenges, especially with regard to local government, corruption, service delivery, etc.
Now, obviously, we're moving away from the reign of Mxolisi in this province, if you will, and a great undertaking by the ANC. How well pleased will they be with the results, if you will, of the top five that have been elected to run this province?
I'm expecting resistance. We need to take into consideration that the Mxolisi loyalists are well positioned throughout the province, especially on a local government level. And there are vested interests in what we can call the status quo. And from my side, people will be concerned losing their positions. I'm expecting the ANC in the province to bring about major changes. I think we may see a new premier, we may see a new provincial executive committee, we may see drastic action in a number of areas. And I think this may be in conflict with the interests of especially people that are associated with endemic corruption and state capture.
Now, this disgruntlement, is this what has led to the delays that plagued the start of this ANC conference? In fact, there was a little bit of violence. I think 2 days ago, certainly the police were firing all sorts of stun grenades in order to deal with a mob of some ANC members that weren't allowed into the conference.
Yes, indeed, that is the case. I think what we are seeing, and that is becoming a pattern at many ANC conferences, high levels of instability, controversy with regard to registration processes. We have seen elements of violence. We have seen maladministration. And I think the same is in a way applicable to the Free State. If we look at the results of the top five, you will find that although the Mxolisi Dukwana group won, it was not an absolute one. It was, in some cases, a relative close call. And I think we can talk about a more or less a 50-50 divide in the province. And the result of this is big divisions. The question, however, at this point is, what is the opponents going to do? Are they going to mobilize in separate structures? Are we going to see new political parties? How is this going to impact on the support base of the ANC? We have seen some surveys indicating a support base for the ANC even below 40%. So the ANC as a party is a party at risk. And I have no doubt that what is happening in the Free State is clearly also a sign of resistance. But I am glad to see, at least like the Northwest Province, that the ANC now has elected leadership, that they will be in a position to take decisions and take the province forward in terms of major challenges.
Well, Professor, you talk about resistance at local government level, which potentially can have an impact on service delivery, if you will. You've also mentioned that that you project, or certainly some research that's been done that suggests that the ANC will have as little as 40% of that vote. Does this pave way for the opposition parties to come to the fore and take up that balance on that 40%?
Yes, many people think it is that easy, but it is difficult in the mindsets of many loyal ANC supporters to just change from one party to the other. So a lot of them are just steering away, ending up in a situation where they are not going to vote. But there are absolutely opportunities for opposition parties. And we have seen that recently in Ditsabotla, in Lichtenburg, where ANC support dropped from about, if you look at some of the elections in that area, and I'm now on all levels, national, provincial, and local, in 2011, from about 77% to below 40%. And we have seen smaller parties coming through. We have seen a party like the EFF increasing their support. We have seen that some of your smaller niche parties is making inroads. I think in the case of the Free State, the Democratic Alliance is relatively well organized and may benefit from the process. So also a party like Action South Africa and maybe other interest groups that may be formed. I believe there's going to be a development to the left of the center, trying to combine a number of groupings, including the ATM, the African Transformation Movement, with disgruntled members of the ANC, maybe some alignment with groupings like the EFF, some of the black consciousness movements. So I think there's room to the left of the center, at least on a national level. How precisely it will play out in the Free State is going to be very interesting, but I cannot see Ace Magashule just accepting this reality. I think he's going to work down to the grassroots level and start organizing and mobilizing with an eye on the 2024 elections.
Now, in his January 8th statement, Cyril Ramaphosa talked about renewal. How does Mxolisi Dukwana take renewal forward for this province?
Well, that is a difficult question to answer because I'm getting many conflicting signals about renewal. I think in some ways, for Mr. Ramaphosa and others, renewal means get rid of corruption, establish a new political elite, and attend to governance issues and other issues like, for example, the Eskom crisis. That is my understanding of the Ramaphosa perspective of renewal, and I believe that Mxolisi Dukwana is 100% within that framework of Ramaphosa. My assessment, however, of renewal is that the party should renew itself completely from a freedom movement towards a full-fledged party functioning within a democratic dispensation. It needs to change its fundamental ideological orientations. It needs to prepare itself for coalition politics on a number of levels. And it must work out corruption and corrupt leadership on all levels. What I am thinking about Renewal is the complete reform, not only of the party, but also of the party in government and the government in terms of the state. My take on it is that South Africa as a country needs fundamental reform, but we need leadership in this regard, and the ANC must provide this leadership. But I think the perspective of Mxolisi Dukwana and others is the more narrow perspective, focusing on the smaller entity of the ANC and see how they can bring about some changes to stabilize the ship and win the election in 2024.
Political analyst Professor Andre Duvenhage, appreciate your time this afternoon.